Underneath the moonlit sky, feel the vibe. Island breezes whisper low like a life tribe. Nana dance to the night, heart so free. With every sway and step, she's a melody. Roots in the soil, love's the only guide. Na 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 na, guide us home. River of Amor, flowing through our veins. True self reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwine, dancing in refrain. In sunshine, we never lost, just found echoes of laughter. We grew to that sound. Colors of the sunset paint the ocean deep. With Nana's spirit, we're awake, never sleep. In your name we rise, no need to hide. The river speaks, it knows our name. Through every wave, we're called to reclaim. River of Amor, flowing through our veins. True self-reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwine, dancing in refrain. Sunflower, light up and you shine, forever bright. In the rhythm of love we ignite.
I've flown high with eagles soaring. I kill kings and Herman Goring. I take the earth, but it's just boring. Tell me why I can't even see you. 'Cause I haven't got a clue, but I do it all for you. Sorry. Remember, recover, and return, my brothers and sisters. I am seriously coming to you 9/18, 3:41 in the morning. And I don't know if it's just me, but there seems to be a strange, tense energy in the air here in America. Like I said, could just be me. But the normal, terrible vibration in America, there's just something a little different. And, if you study the world, like as an observer gathering data, from a personal perspective, it's just like how can it be believed that everything on a world global level is happening by chance, and it's just like a void in the minds of the masses. Like, who's running this? You can't tell it's a show. Right? I mean, you're really going to tell me that just by a coincidence that this Charlie Kirk Zionist Christian was, if he even was, this whole thing happens the afternoon that the Congress is debating, or voting, not debating, voting on releasing the Epstein files. And we all know what's in there. And if anyone is paying attention to the show, beyond any doubt, you're witnessing, looking at a clown face being blackmailed. I mean, you really, in a world of 300 million people, a country of 350 million people, a world of 7 billion people, you're going to tell me it's just a coincidence that this clown face, makeup face, fake everything, just happened to be the very good friend of the most famous, notorious, sex trafficking, pedophile, archetype, bad guy archetype, monster to women, and it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that right before the clown was elected the first time, literally tells the whole world that he just molests women, just grabbed them, and that it's okay if you're rich. This is a archetypal precedent. And just imagine the woman, like he said, Trump was actually speaking the truth. Lots of women, like he said, they'll let you do it. Why? For that money. But you're telling me that this locker room talk, and any woman just accepts that as locker room talk, accepts evil, force and fraud. And, you see the masses start to break down right before your eyes. They're like, yeah, but we're going to have to use a little force and fraud against the left. And the left are like, yeah, we're going to have to use some force and fraud against the billionaires and against the racist and the Christians, while being funded by racist billionaires. And remember, my brothers and sisters, that it's all a show. There's one director, one cast. And recover, my brothers and sisters, what this circus, reality circus, chaos magic has taken from you. Recover it. And what do you mean? I mean to cleanse yourself of guilt. Like Maria said, there's one thing about the masses of people. They're not guilty as charged. And it's just a mind game. Like, I am not kidding you. I was a Christian. I was a Rasta and a Christian for 15 years altogether. And both like groups of people that I was associated with, when any dude reads the Bible, it comes straight to their mind. What the fuck? I mean, how listen to this. Backwards mind control. For the people who out there are like, Jesus is good. Jesus actually hates you. You dumbass. If you would read it carefully, you'll see he's making fun of you and laughing at you. This scripture is brought up the most when, and they love to use words that you don't normally use. No one greets people like, hey, have you repented? I mean, even your friends, you might say, hey, do you make things right with your girl or with your boyfriend or whatever? Only Christians talk like this, repent. And the scripture is Jesus, Luke Frodo Skywalker, says something like Moses said, don't covet your neighbor's wife. Okay, and it's the same, and what he says is absolute nonsense. It's the exact same thing. Basically, what he says is, what that means is don't lust. Don't want to fuck your neighbor's wife, even though she might be very beautiful. And he says, no, that's not good enough. I want you to feel more guilty. To even look at a woman in lust is enough for you to be thrown into a lake of fire forever. And I think anyone who's serious starts to think exactly like you see reality. Muslim women, all covered up, even their, it's kind of backwards though, because it should be the man who's covering his eyes, and the women should be comfortably dressed, I guess. Because he says to even look. So he's saying you can't look. And the Muslims are saying, cover yourself up because I'm going to want to look. That doesn't make sense. You should cover your eyes if you're going to take this literal. Nothing makes sense. So you have, Muslim women at the beach in, giant, thick dresses floating around in the ocean, while they're dudes in Speedos, or whatever they call. Yeah, Joseph, what are you getting at? Well, I don't remember any, photographic specific, but I remember because everyone thinks it and says it. Okay, so I'm not supposed to look at any woman because I don't know what's going to trigger this instinct to want to carry on the species, because if I don't lust for women and no men lust for women, there won't be men, there won't be women. Oh, shut up, Joe. We're being super spiritual over here. Don't try to talk rational. I tell you to even look at a woman in lust, you've already sinned in your heart or whatever, is so fucking impossible, so stupid, so ridiculous. The reason, especially young men, are looking and lusting is their DNA vibration. And let's get it to heart at it. So what does Paul say? Basically literally, every thought you think, everything about you, your very nature is evil. And this is why you need salvation. And I'm telling you that that's the most spiritually racist, discriminating thing you could ever say. We don't have any evidence, but you're the worst person that's ever existed. And you're like, so it doesn't matter, how hard you try. No, the Bible's an impossible trap laid by the greatest of magicians. Not only Crowley, but Lou. Because like he said, it gets a good person like you, Joe. And you burn in it. And then realize this is not true. You know what's true? Every single one of the 7 billion people on earth are their own worlds. And to say that everyone is the same is the most racist, elitist attitude you could ever possibly imagine. I mean, this is the chosen, to the 10th power. Because now he's saying everyone is equally evil, and so your only chance is for God. And as he moves into Romans chapter 8, chapter 9, I would know. I read the book of Romans probably 50 times. I read it 30 times. Once every day for 30 days once. And you do that, and you will know the book of Romans. And you think it's some deep shit because you think you're being humble, saying like, yeah, I am bad. Paul actually says, and listen to what he's saying. The good I want to do, I don't do. The very things I don't want to do are what I find myself doing. That's a magic curse. And he's saying, because of my essence, everything I do is evil, force, and fraud. And then you have to take a step back and say, what the fuck are you really doing, dude? You know what? Because now you've made me think, no, I'm not doing anything like that. And I never would. The good that I want to do, I just do it. I do what my essence leads me to do. And it's not evil. And far from it. Matter of fact, it's the polarity of you. You are what you talk about, Paul. Because you know what? You know what Paul is? He's the pole that holds up a circus tent. And underneath the tent is just clowns and jesters jumping around in a meaningless. And when you get closer to the clowns and jesters, you're like, dude, they're not trying to make people laugh. They have guns. They have knives. They want to kill people. And you see it right before our eyes. The super high tech trying to cause a civil war in America. And look, they're having such trouble starting a civil war because the Christians are pussies. And there are known opposition. 70 to 80% of the population in America is Christian in one way or another. They have the woke. It's like 1,000. I would say it's at least 500 to 1,000 to 1. Christians versus woke. And the woke are like 15 and 16 and 17. And the woke's only problem is they trust in a phantom idea called authority and government. There's no real authority except what you give as a sovereign human being. And I can hear someone saying, you're lucky you're not thrown in jail, and like a lot of other people. And, every time we speak now, we want people to remember and do something about if your country is too big, your city's too big. I mean, we have to start somewhere with ideas. We have to downsize into communities that can guarantee the very first commandment is thou shalt have no innocent people locked in cages. That's called slavery. That's called torture. That's called horrid. And people like, dude, that's so far away. But let me tell you, post-nuclear exchange, it will be a lot different. Like Maria said, yeah, the introduction of a new age in the Matrix is very complicated. But you're going to watch it, my son, my Joseph. And I swear, man, I guess I can, as you can imagine, how I don't even talk about this with people in my real life, really, because I know how crazy it sounds. Oh, yeah, you're going to leave America and go to Africa or something. But, I've, like Maria said, let me give you a little clue, Joseph. The same power that stopped the knife from stabbing you in the neck, that same magic power, and she said, I'll tell you what, it's me, is still with you. Even stronger now that we are face to face and conscious. She said, have faith that is a reverberating, miraculous event, and there are more. It was funny, she used to always say to me, Joseph, the best is yet to come. I'm saving the best for last. And it's crazy. The first time I tuned into Trump, during the COVID lockdown, Process Church Memorial. Trump kept saying the best is yet to come, the best is yet to come. This is no bullshit also. After May 5th, what's crazy is these things start happening before the major event, and I don't really know. I'm not really aware of everything that Maria and Lou are doing, but I had interactions with Kanye West, Ye West on the, I guess, astral plane, energy plane where ghosts are, where, it's, I don't like fancy language, man. I really don't want to be deceived. I want to just know practically what's real. Okay, you die, you walk out of your body. There's a realm, an energy field where people can exist, but people in the Matrix can't see them, hear them, smell them, anything. That's what we're calling the astral plane. It's very important to, if you're a real student, we're going to start, I believe, teaching on a whole nother level as we progress, as I learn. It took me a long time to learn the things I'm telling you now. Kind of what took so long was how do how do you sort of take a life that's unseen? Because now, okay, the first recordings I made were in August of 2020 after Aleister Crowley appeared to me at my house on my porch. That's when I started recording the podcast in that. So it took 9 years. The reason it took 9 years was it did take me 9 years to really understand. A lot had happened. It didn't take me 9 years to understand the principles, because the principles are actually simple. First of all, reality is always who, what, why, where, when, and how, but in the actual happening. You can't make it up. It's eyewitnessed. It's actually recorded in the memory. Reality is. So what is reality? Reality is the events recorded in your memory. Not your opinion of them, no interpretation or perception of them. Just very basic shit like car hit car, killed you. You don't know if the guy was drunk. You don't know if black magician was taking over his sight, or because all this kind of shit really does happen. And I know that might sound hocus pocus, but it's very real that someone can concentrate on you and fuck with you in a serious way. You know why? There's no Jesus and Holy Spirit, nothing just automatically protecting you. Matter of fact, the true self may have sent you here to experience some of this, because that's what we would call black magic. Black magic would be defined as using magic as a weapon of force or fraud against other people. Right? And I in myself feel like the hopelessness of like how the earth can ever figure itself out, change, rearrange. It just seems like the Bible is almost true. It seems like Paul was almost right, but almost is very far, a million miles, when it's this important. When it's this important, your very nature, who you are you going to let the Bible define you? If you are, please, stop listening right now. We don't even want your energy involved. You're not evil. You're not even close. If you're listening to me right now, you're not even close to a sinner. And see, the language and the magician using the language knows exactly what they're doing. Cindy, sinner. Actually, sin, her. Sin is a goddess. Her. Sin is her. Sinner. Sin, her. Simply means that you worship the most beautiful and righteous moon goddess, who is actually the goddess of this world, because she's the sun and moon to Lulu. I mean, it's so twisted that all our people, in a literal way, should fucking hope to the gods that all our people are sinners. worshipers or followers, lovers of sin. Another word for Sita, was one of her names. And that's where Cindy comes from. Cindy comes from Sita. And it's wrapped up in a story of how this goddess woman, because of fate and destiny, became the moon and had to basically reflect the sun until they could be one again. It's a magical, beautiful story that we're taught back on Venus. That's why they're saying sinner. If we weren't very connected to the goddess Cindy, Sita, then we would it wouldn't have any effect on us. These unknown words. And a lot of these Bible words are exactly those kind of magic words. Playing on your blocked memory that you can sense. And, I've had some people say, I stopped listening to you after you said intuition doesn't exist. But I told them you misunderstand. I said the way people speak about intuition is that it's 100% correct and can be 100% trusted. I said mine can't. And what can be is the truth that comes by revelation, logic, and then you will artistically, magically be able to express it, even teach it to someone else. That's what took me 9 years, is the final phase, how to teach it to someone else. Because it's one thing to see something like multi-layered, very deep. And it's another thing to explain it to someone who hasn't experienced that, but you are doing it because you're wanting to inspire them to seek like I did. And you might say, yeah, but you saw it like the fool. You didn't know what you were doing. You walked off cliffs. I know, but it worked. It wasn't really a mistake. The true self was driving the avatar. Dude, it was so crazy. I had absolutely no idea what kratom was. Because it had been like banned in Missouri for years before I got some. And I didn't know that people used it every day like coffee, And Maria knew this. She knew the plant. She knew what was going to happen. And she told me to go on the internet and buy this right in the middle of our Amanita muscaria, whole revelation. I mean, she was like, listen, buddy, you can't get no magic mushrooms because I told you weren't that I would bring them to you, and I have for a year and a half. I'm doing it on purpose because I want you now to do exactly what I did. I was like, okay. And more than likely, I mean, not even that, no one would I've ever in my life heard do this. This was actually the first time I ever tried kratom. And kratom, of course, is, affects people different ways. It's not an opioid. It's actually sort of kind of like, it's a related to the coffee tree. There's something coffee-ish about it, and there's something sort of psychedelic about it almost, which I know isn't scientific. It's not, doing what that literally means scientifically in your mind. But and she told me to do 3 grams, which is a pretty, normal. It's kind of a normal dose for someone that usually takes it. Maybe your very first time. I wouldn't recommend someone do 3 grams, but she knew what she was doing for a specific purpose. And I really want to say it was 10 grams of Amanita muscaria, and I made it all in a tea. I put the kratom in with, and I think, with Syrian rue also, the, enzyme inhibitor, so that it would all work better. And this is, I've never in my life had anything like this happen to me. And there's no huge thing that I can describe to you until it was over. I did not know what was going to happen, and at the time my wife was doing the rituals with me. And that's right around the time she stopped. And I was like, can you kind of stay with me for an hour or something in the beginning of this? I don't know what's going to happen. I've never tried this kratom stuff. And this, I believe, was the second time I ever did Amanita muscaria. I think the first time was 7 grams with like 1 gram of psilocybin. And I don't even remember that. It certainly wasn't nothing bad. I actually do remember it being super peaceful, and me telling Maria, it was the first time I ever did Amanita. And I remember telling Maria, like, it's so peaceful of a mushroom. It's like a totally different energy. And she's like, I know, that's why I'm leading you, Joseph. Like, just relax and let it be. Let it be. So be it. And so I got a couple rolled, and within like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm smoking with my wife, and within like 5 or 10 minutes, I can't even talk. Not because I'm so anything but so relaxed, but also almost outside of my body, but in a very super calm vibration. And I swear, almost in like slow motion, it really felt like I was laying down, like floating out of my body, and no bullshit, this like screen, it was actually like kind of drawn, and I'm laying on the bed. I closed my eyes, and it was almost like I really was sleeping. And I'm just so relaxed, and it's like a an old TV. It's just like shh, just like energy. It just looked like energy, And all of a sudden, like out of this energy appeared this screen. And all behind it just all turned like pink and real mellow. And it looked kind of like the Matrix. The actual screens of the Matrix. Like running down like numbers. But it wasn't. Not that I knew of. It was something like, it looked like numbers and letters, but it wasn't our numbers and letters in it. And I don't even know if it was numbers and letters necessarily. It's almost like pixels. And I couldn't distinguish them, and I didn't care. I was so relaxed that I just didn't care, you know. And I remember my wife tapping me and trying to pass me a joint while I had my eyes closed looking at this screen. That's actually the last thing I remember. And I remember saying to myself, like, am I laying down because I was like sitting up with my eyes closed? I literally said to myself, am I laying down? Like, I hope so, because if not, I look like a total zombie. I just felt like my mouth was almost like hanging open. And I, last thing, my wife was tapping me, and I just remember, without even opening my eyes, just, holding my hand out like, no, I'm not able to even hold that. And let me tell you, there wasn't one single bit of fear in me. It was just a total submission to this like ocean of relaxing power. It wasn't bliss. It wasn't butterflies and waterfalls and paradise. It was like a white noise, calm, deep vibration. And, this was done on our regular ritual night. I was like, Maria, where are you? And dude, it seemed like it took like minutes for just one sentence to reach me. Like, it took like a long time. Like, I was like, I know you're here in the room. You were just here in the room. I know. Why can't I hear you? And it was like, then it came to me like, I'm right here. And I was like, you said that like a minute ago. And she was like, that's how far out of time you are, Joe. You are even out of my time. You are in the world of the Amanita muscaria. And I was like, I couldn't care. Either way, I was just so relaxed. I remember getting up to go to the bathroom before this, and me being like, I feel like I drank a bottle of Jack Daniels, but I'm not drunk. It was like I was walking in like a wave pool, but I didn't have that nauseous, drunk, dumb feeling. But I felt kind of like the physical effects that alcohol put on you, but not the mental. I didn't feel drunk, but my body did. I had never felt anything like it. And I had not even the slightest notion of panic or anything. I was completely at peace with it, submitted to the vibration, because a man's voice, I presume, was my true self, Arlu, was telling me, just continue to look at the screen because it's healing you. It might take a while. It might seem kind of boring, but just keep looking at the screen. You are being treated right now for your physical illnesses. And believe me, I'm one person that can explain to people how some people, and I'm like speaking on behalf of those people. Some people I swear, man, you can do everything to be healthy. You can not let a single toxin in your body. You can have the perfect macro micro diet, and in just one split second, this is how it happens for me. And I don't want it to happen. I'm not trying to make this happen. But it's like everything is based on personal relationships on another level, on another unseen, energetic level. We call Amor, we call love. And like that affects me a million times more than food. Like the moment I think, oh my God, I might not ever see her, or I might not ever connect with her, is the worst feeling it's ever happened to me, ever. And Maria was like, that, my son, is Amor. She said, you wanted to know, how is it a loveless love? Well, it's a loveless love in that you feel absolutely horrible under this vibration. And that very fact is the fact that you will never, ever, ever forget. No matter what world. Like, I can't even tell people. You know what I am very proud of myself for doing? Practicing remember, recover, return. Every time I breathed in, remember, recover, return, to me, it was the smartest thing I was doing. You're in an illusion. There's no fucking use of going forward and being successful in the system. There's no spiritual use. See, before you could say, well, I'm going to use the money to do something spiritual. Now the jig is up. And it's either put up or shut up. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now use the money to do what? Something other people are going to like? Or the truth? Something that may get clicks and views? Or the truth? Like, I knew one thing about my story, that it was true. So for the first time I'm out, like as an artist, I remember writing a song. Like I said, I wrote a song, Room Full of Mirrors. Somewhere I'm explaining this. About my friend's wife, a lady I worked with, her daughter, who got messed up on drugs, became a stripper, and ended up in a, like drug rehab mental institution. Like, it's kind of like on the behalf of these people that I'm speaking. I'm not kidding. And what I was going to say is I wrote the song about her dream. Like, I went with her mother to visit her. This is when I was a Christian. And she was like, Joe, you'll be interested in this. I had this crazy dream the other night. And this is a very good person. I've always loved Tara. Her name is Tara. And for real, I've always loved her since the moment I met her. And I don't mean like sex, and I don't not mean that, because she's very beautiful. I think it's disrespectful to not be honest to a woman, because like Maria, she's really taught me, like, Joe, let me tell you, as much as you're my spokesman, as close as you can be to me, you can't take the place of another woman's opinion for another woman, no matter what. She said, you may not have a man thing, as in your language, but let me tell you, there's a woman thing. And there always will be. And I'm about that woman thing. And I was like, I see it. I totally see it. You know, but because she's my friend's daughter, you know, it's not sort of proper to think that way. But in respect to her, I want to say to her that she is that beautiful. She is desirable. She is sexy. And I know that sounds sort of cheesy, but it's in respect to her and nothing else, really. Like Maria said, either we're going to be authentic and honest or we're not. You know? And until you become the observer of your own opinion about sex, your own practice of sex, your own enjoyment of sex, and your own honesty with the person or people you're having sex. Like, my first girlfriend, she was extremely, and, you know, other, like my best friend, my closest friend, Magic Mindy. Me and her, we're one. That really means one, that you don't hide shit from each other because you don't have to. I can tell her anything. But my first girlfriend, I think she did that more on a principle. You know what I mean? Not necessarily for me, but just the principle of, like, if you're not honest and transparent, you're not going to get the truth. And it's strange, like, you know, I was with her from like 1985 to 89 or something. And in 2011, 2012, I was being taught her nobility and how she's really plugged in. She's a real person. Not everyone is. A lot of people are AI. You wouldn't know. Maria wouldn't know. No one would know until it's revealed. People would say, no way. You're looking at 2025 technology. We're talking about 4.5 million 2025 technology. And she taught, she showed me and taught me. And I don't think she knew she was. It kind of came through her honesty, her authenticity. But in her own way, she taught me, like, me and you can fantasize anything we want together. It's not bad. And it was like, I describe in one of my rituals. Me and her didn't know each other. This was not supposed to be able to be possible. But I don't want to, try to be erotic or anything. But it was completely a ritual. A whole ritual was about this. How all of a sudden, me and her had, in real life, been dating and been boyfriend and girlfriend for like 2 years. And off and on, too. It wasn't like bliss. All of a sudden, I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. But what happened is I had promoted a concert as a concert promoter and I thought it was a lot of money. It was like $500 maybe or something. And all of a sudden in like 2023, I remembered why I really took the money and said to her, I said, I don't even know what's going on. I said, I've never traveled. I've never been on an airplane. I said, I made this money. Do you, instead of going on a date, how about we go to Chicago and, spend like 2 nights and fly there and fly back. I'd never been there in my entire life. I was 16. And And guess who helped us? She was like, okay, I think I could work this out. I'll tell my grandma, because she lived with her grandma, and her grandma was trying to be like, Miss Strict. I care about you, so be home at midnight. And just everything. She was so critical of Tammy, of everything. Man, I remember this like it was yesterday. Tammy telling me, okay, I can do this. She was like, I'll tell my grandma I'm spending the weekend with my mom. And she's like, she'll call my mom. My mom will cover for me. And I will call my mom. I'll call my grandma in the morning. I'll call my grandma at night. Just like I was at my mom's. I was like, yeah, totally. And she's like, we'll get a calling card, that pays for the long distance call. I was like, yep, let's do it. I remember the first night I don't mean to go into boring details, and it was because of Cindy that we got to be able to do this. It was because of Cindy because Tammy was probably 17 or 18. So, as I described in one of my rituals, and this is why I'm saying this, is because this is the technical truth. In the simulation, most people are AI, but it's based on real DNA vibrations, just like at night. Your mind plays out situations, even whole timelines with other people, and it's using like an AI version of the person. Right? So, there's people who are really plugged into the Matrix back home on Venus. They're laying on a bed, they're plugged into the Matrix like you. Some of these people, a very small, tiny percentage, you knew before you came here. This is exactly what causes someone to say, like, I married my best friend, instead of saying, I married my eternal true love. And believe me, I'm not picking on anyone. I've said the same thing. Would I only dare speak to you from personal experience. If I didn't know this was true in my own life, I wouldn't say it. But these people, there are AI people, and then there's people plugged in, and then there's people you knew personally. This is what I was shown on the contract, that I had to find someone that was plugged into the Matrix, but I didn't know and wasn't from my caste, might even be from a higher caste. That would break my heart genuinely, as far as could be. As far as genuine can be. And I found this person. And you make deals on other levels with people you don't know. You find out quickly, hey, you're really here too. And this usually happens when you're sleeping. But it can happen when you're awake too. On another level. And literally, this is exactly what happened between me and her. We had been dating boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 years. And on another level, I said to her, I know that I don't know you and we don't know each other before I came here. But I want to know you. I said, you're not my eternal true love. I know that. You're not even from my caste, but I love you. And I want to be one with you. I want to give you something. I want you to know how grateful and thankful I am. And this is really before she fully. I mean, I'm telling you the story right now. I swear I seen me and her meet on another level, and me saying, and just forgive me for talking so real, but on another level in my ritual, I seen me talking to her, my first girl, and saying to her, I know that all these dudes want to fuck you, and you're beautiful, so every dude wants to fuck you. I get, that makes me one in a fucking million. Who cares that you're one of the guys who want to fuck me? Like one of every guy I've ever met. And it was like she was standing there looking at me on another plane of existence like, that's not my fault. I didn't say it. I said, but I know, but this is a fact that this just makes me one of every single person you know. She was like, yeah. I said, but I want to really know you, and I want you to know that I know you're really plugged into the matrix, and that I want to know you as a person. I don't want to just fuck you. I want to know you as a real person. And I'm sorry if I get a little too graphic, but I think it's important. I think it's important for the symbolism. And I said to her, this is like her first boyfriend. I said his name. I said, I have to take you energetically out of far away from his presence. This was before I made the money. And my true self was showing me that this is how and why I made the money. And why I was so, seemingly foolish to spend the only money that I just made on, a sort of dumb vacation that, let's take a vacation to an inner city. And I didn't know, there was no event planned. Me and her were like, hey, we'll just find out, we'll figure something out once we get there. If not, we'll just walk around the city and check it out. She had never been there either. And on this other plane of existence, I was telling her, I gotta take you away from this person and all these dudes that want to fuck you. And I didn't, even when I was observing myself with her, I was thinking, what am I doing? I didn't really understand what was going on. I mean, I did understand, get you away from this energy. And this is very interesting. The first night we were there, I swear, I seen this whole thing in my ritual. I seen everything we did. Get on the plane, land, find a hotel. Then we started walking around just looking for shit. We ended up going to a movie in a sort of fancy downtown theater, old looking. But it was like a movie neither one of us wanted to see. We just wanted something to do, somewhere to go. We were like, well, we don't know what to do. Let's just go in here and check it out. It was cheap. And it was weird, dude, because of the movie. Me and her sat there for 2 hours, a long movie. I remember it being a long, boring, dramatic movie. And me and her held hands the entire movie. In my ritual, I was going in my body and I was telepathically communicating to her saying, why won't you let go of my hand? I want to hold your hand too, but it seems like something else is going on. And she said to me, I'm scared. I'm afraid. I don't know if I love you. I don't know if you're my true love. I want you to be. And I'm scared. I was like, it's it's a terrible thing for someone to be questioning. But it also was very authentic and true. And I didn't know what was going on in the first time it happened. I'm talking about observing it. 30 years later. And we went back to the hotel room. We're 16 and 17. The hardest thing for us is a place to have magic. Because you're 16. You can't get caught in your parents' house. And, we didn't even go to her house because she lived with her grandma and grandpa. And, they were impossible. So you would, it was kind of like our whole thing was to get away to have magic. And we were so tired from traveling and walking the city and going to this movie that we just fell asleep. And in the morning, it was crazy. When I witnessed this, as the observer, it was the sweetest thing. It made me so... I've talked to Mindy about this. And I was trying to get her, do you see how sweet and wonderful, authentic of a person this is? And her name's Tammy. Because I told her, man, this is what happened in my ritual. I seen me and her. She kind of was moving around, woke me up in the morning. And it was we both realized, oh my God, we were going to have magic and both of us fell asleep. We were so tired, And it was she was saying, it's not too late, And I'm not trying to, like I said, it's, it's impossible for me to be erotic or whatever. I don't want to bring people there because it's a very special moment. But I also want people to know this is how deep shit goes. And symbolic also. But we had been together for a year. About a year or so. Maybe a little over a year. And we had probably been we were having sex for 11 months of that year. I mean, not all the time, but once in a while. And she is my only girlfriend ever. And there was Maria actually said to me, pay attention, Joseph. Because I was really lost in the moment of Tammy is a sweet, special person. Super special. Just like her mother. A best-hearted, intentions. I think I learned a lot about being authentic from her. Because the avatar, when you play music and shit, you very easily can be okay, you can be someone else very easily. Because you're kind of acting until you become original. But, it was like I said, me and her had woke up in the morning. It was almost like we were telepathically communicating. In my ritual 30 years later, we were. Whether I was conscious of it or her wasn't. There's an astral conversation going on between people who knew each other. That's how you know someone. That's how you know. It doesn't mean you could have an astral conversation with somebody who's really here that you didn't know before you came here, but not like this. Not like this. Not like this. And actually, that's exactly what's happening. I was having an astral conversation with somebody I did not know before I came here. And she, without saying anything, she just took my hand and put it where she wanted. And it was like we started telepathically communicating. And she said, and it was like all of a sudden, I was in the bed, in reality. I became conscious of it. And I that's what made me believe she was my eternal true love, because I heard her in my mind. And this is probably, I heard lots of shit in my mind when I was a kid, but I knew exactly what it was when I was a kid. And I knew that it was her. I knew her. And it was so crazy. She was like, I don't know why. She's like, she's like, there's some, this is on an astral plane. Me and her were just silent. She had her back to me. And I was holding her. And she took my hand and like put it, to let me know where she wanted it. And that triggered us, that energy triggered us to start telepathically communicating. But this is the first time I was aware of it. And she said something very original, very interesting to me. Like, it was something I didn't know she was going to say in real time. And then I'm going to tell you, why I was seeing this in my ritual, why it's significant to the Matrix getting out of here and everything. She said, no one has ever watched me masturbate. And she's like, I have nothing else to give you. Like, I want to give you something because I want you to know that I know this is supernatural. I want you to know that you're magic. But I also know that you're not my eternal true love. And this was like, as this was happening, physically. And as she was doing what she said, and I was aware of this as it happened, but I didn't know what it meant, which I hope you learn is all the fucking world of difference. But watching her and helping her, like she was, showing me what to do while she was pleasuring herself, we went into like a completely other world. I knew this at the time, but 30 years later, I went, oh my God, Maria. Me and her, and as I couldn't even get the words eternal orgasm out of my mouth, because what we believe is this is like a steady plane, a world that the orgasm can take you to. If you'll learn to be it, live it, project it, know it as the greatest power that's ever going to come from your essence in this projected physical reality. You tell me something more powerful. And you're like, God, family, country is nothing to compare to a lightning bolt. You're talking totally different categories of things. Complete something else. I'm talking about something else. And she said to me, just like everyone says, and I say too. Every time I've only seen this with this girl, Tammy, which I'm going to explain to you wasn't supposed to happen, and with this woman that I believe is like my true love from before I came to Venus. Only me and her, as far as I ever know. No, and I know consciously. experience what me and Tammy did here on Earth. And what it was is when Tammy was orgasming, we went to another world. And she was like, "Oh my God, Joe. We weren't supposed to be able to do this." She said, "Does this mean you are my eternal true love?" And I said, "I don't know," because I was the avatar. I said, I was so stunned myself, and I was observing myself. I didn't know what to think in real life, except that, wow, she's my true love. This really happened to me, but re-seeing it in my ritual, I now knew what the context was. At the time it was happening, you're like, this is magic. This is what it means to make love and have magic. And it's funny because, like I said, she was masturbating. It's very symbolic of self-generated, you know. She didn't actually even need me there. And that's the Matrix and the gods of the Matrix trying to teach you something. Trying to teach you to stop being the manipulator. The manipulator is like, tells a person, I need you, when you know that you don't. You know, don't say it unless you mean, and you may have meant it at one time. And then you've seen more of the truth, you get the context, and that's what happens to a lot of people. Let's just be honest. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. I'm talking to myself and the general life that we all see being lived. Of like, oh yeah, what's the odds you found your eternal true love before you came here on Earth? About 1 in 7 billion. And unless what I'm saying is the real context, you're fucking nuts. You're just, creating a false reality to comfort yourself. And I don't blame you. I did the same things. I do the same. I'm not ever looking down or judging anyone. I only know these things because I went through them. That's the only reason. I'm not better. I really, honestly, don't even fucking... I'm surviving. Like, I can't even go to a level, any other level of like, dude, these people are actually trying to kill me. And I have to just focus. Like, we've been recording every night because it helps me. And she said to me on this other plane while she was orgasming, we weren't supposed to do this. This is the space where you go with your eternal true love. And she kept saying to me, Joe, you're magic. You did this. And Maria later told me that in a way she was right, because I'm from, and like she said, she might be from a higher caste than us. The artist class, there is no higher and lower really. There's just different. Every caste thinks they're the highest. Thinks they're the most normal. She's like, it's not that. She's from a different caste. And Maria said to me, hey, outside of the emotion of it all, look, she's talking to you. Like, she knows this space. And how did you bring her here? And I said, so the eternal orgasm is not only accessed by people who are each other's eternal true love. And she said, Joe, you're magic. She's like, you won't accept that, will you? That you did it. That's not supposed to happen. She said, what's the first? This was after I seen Maria said, what was the first thing Tammy said to you in the eternal orgasm space? I said, this wasn't supposed to happen. And see, this was years after I'd seen this vision of this blonde woman Like me and Maria, like we'll just call her Sita all the time. Maria said to me, Joe, do you think it's a coincidence? I fucking on another plane of existence am helping you see this. Do you think it's a coincidence? What I shown you 7 years ago about someone you don't even know. I was not even conscious. She would say to me, who is she? And I would say, I thought she was someone else at first. And Maria would say, is she? I would say, she's this person. And she would go, is she? And I would go, man, dude, you're right. Her face don't look like that. One time, I thought she was Mindy's daughter because Mindy's daughter had really long black hair. And Maria said to me, Joe, your mind is so powerfully affected by this person that you don't, like, it's painful for you to remember. And I was looking at the exact vision, and I was like, oh my God, that hair is blonde, because it was only from behind. And I was like, is that you? To Maria, and she was like, no, it's not. And Maria said to me, do you think it's a coincidence that Tammy and Sita said the same thing to you? This wasn't supposed to happen. I said, that was crazy. I said, hold on now. I go, this is a revelation. I go, hold it. You're talking about this. This is years before I would ever even consider anyone that might be this person. I didn't know who this person was. I said, so you're saying basically the woman, and I don't even know who this woman is, and you're saying to me, I don't really know Tammy from before I came here, but that the woman, though, is able to take me to the eternal orgasm space. And she was like, yeah, and what did both of them say? It's not supposed to happen, you're magic. I said, dude, that's exact. I go, dude, this was later, after I did know who the person was. I was shown in like 2017 something. I've talked about it before. I don't want to like just replay over and over, but I talked about on Venus, me having this ritual beginning with me just making out like teenagers. I mean, it's so touching. When I think about it, I want to cry. In like a locker room, I later figured out from Maria, this is the only place they don't have cameras, on Venus, in locker rooms and bathrooms. And it was crazy. Like it took me years to realize. Like I said, this was like 2015. It took me years to realize that me and this girl were like having sex without sex organs. For real. And that's kind of how it felt. Like I said, it was like we were making out in our clothing. We were fully fucking clothed, but so embraced in love. Like we were saying to each other on another level. I was like smiling, seeing this, kind of laughing. I mean, like, kind of like I was with Tammy. But even far to like the 10th power, that I was hugging her and going like, I love you so much, I love you. Like that's how we were having sex. By just saying telepathically to you like, I love you, I love you, I love you so much. And it took me and Sita to the same other level out of our bodies. Like, and she said the exact same thing. I was remembering Tammy say it like 7 years after I had seen this whole memory. This was gift that Maria straight up gave me. I mean, straight, if anyone cares about the truth, it became a joke. By 2015, it became totally a joke between me and her. She'd be like, hey, how you doing, Joseph? You know, we would talk and she'd go, well, ask me anything you want to know. It became a joke. And like for years, I would say, a memory from before I came here, please. You know, we would joke about it. She'd be like, hey. Even later in the night, she'd be like, is there anything you want? I would say, a memory. And she would say, I trained you well. I swear to the gods, this was a 2-part thing, you know, and I'm not trying to be anything. I'm just speaking the truth. This is a 2-part thing. The first thing, it was like a couple weeks after that this ritual, I drank the mushrooms, I lay down, and it began. Maria was like, here's your memory. Here's your memory. I picked the best one you could possibly want. And that was me and the girl just making out in a locker room hilariously. Like, how much I love this girl was hilarious. And that was one memory. And in the memory, me and her, like I said, went to the eternal orgasm space, and she changed clothes. You know, she had different clothes on even in the eternal orgasm space. She had a like dark brown, very interesting looking like handmade dress with giant sunflowers on it. Like I was taken by the dress, and it had pockets in the very front, and she had both of her hands in her pockets, and she was like dancing with the dress, and she's like, can you believe this? Can you fucking believe this? And I was like totally in awe of her. Totally couldn't even speak. I thought she was so beautiful and so like, she was like a movie star. That's how I felt, like I'm in, you know, alone with a movie star talking to me. That's how I felt. Like I couldn't even talk or anything. And she was dancing around going, can you believe it? We did this. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did this. And my mind went, did what? And she went, oh my God. And I just blurted, I thought, did what? And I blurted out, I don't know if I said her. I could never remember her name. I guess I just blurted it out. We're in the eternal orgasm. And she laughed and goes, Joe, that's what I was saying. I know. I was just saying. I go, I know. My brain is like on delay. Like, I was in total awe of like, how the fuck did we do this? We weren't supposed to be able to do this. It's just like 2 children for the first time leaving their bodies and going and telling their parents, like, I can't believe it. I did it. I left my body today. But it was even like on a secret level of like, hey, this is actually breaking the rules. We're not supposed to do this either. You know, like nobody could know about this. No one can know we were making out in the locker room. I swear to the God, she was saying to it's a good thing no one walked in on us. They would probably tell on us. And I, in my mind, was like, dude, this is like 1984. Venus with her, like, only hold hands, you can't kiss in public, is like 1984 type shit. You know what I mean? If it's like if you were on camera kissing, they would call you before it counts and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Do that in the privacy of your own home, you know? But like she said, we were 2 children. They weren't supposed to do it at all. Like, we weren't supposed to do more. I swear to the gods, I had a memory of Maria sitting me and her down and saying, listen, I love you both so much. I told you, it is not socially acceptable to do any more than hold hands in public. And she actually was like yelling at the girl and saying, like, listen, you have to listen to me. Like, we don't want trouble on this, like, superficial level. You know, we don't want to look like troublemakers. And I swear, later, Maria told me for years that I grew up with someone and that this is the whole reason why I'm her spokesman, because me and this girl that grew up together caused this sort of trouble. And the trouble was like, no one ever goes against the gods, even though that's all we say. All we ever say, we have a motto like eternal true love even goes against the gods. Right? Did you hear me? Eternal true love is willing to go against the gods. And we're serious about this gods thing is like the law, the rules, the energetic, everything, the peace. Like Maria said, the last thing we want is like a disruption in the caste. She's like, this doesn't happen to our people, but it's conceptually could happen. That you could get removed from your caste. And she said, believe me, Joe, that is a serious thing. It's like it would be really hard for us to see each other. We'd have to meet on the asteroid. It would be like you're in the Matrix forever. Not to say that once in a while we don't go out of our caste on Venus and really, you know what we do? We this is how entertainment tours. This is how the arts tour. They tour the other castes like their countries. It's very much like different countries. But each country is based on vibration, personality, creation, right? The created personality vibrates. It's a practical, logical thing. And your essence vibration puts you into like a country on Venus. And I think the real revelation, okay, let me back up and give you the full background to this. And, let me just go. This was 2 parts, right? Let me finish that first. It was this part of call me a fucking airhead or whatever. I kind of feel stupid later when I'm like, I couldn't figure that out. Like, I don't get, because, and I do get, I'll try to explain. So that was literally 1 week. And I told Maria, that was the craziest memory I've ever had. What the fuck? And all she told me, I said, who was that girl? And she said, you would know better than me. I said, come on. I said, I never got to see her face. We were kissing so much, so nonstop that I couldn't see her. I said, all I know is she's got a lot of hair. And she's tiny. Because she like jumped on me, which was funny. And the next week, Maria was like, this was, I've talked about this before, and I'm not, trying to be erratic, like I said. But the next week, Maria was like, she was like, you really liked that memory, didn't you? I said, of course I did. I said, because she said she's your sister. I go, yeah, you might as well just say she's a girl. And she said, you liked that memory of your sister, didn't you? This is how stupid I am. For some reason, I never really consciously thought it was the same person, even though, of course, it was, with the same hair. You don't know until you know. I mean, literally, you don't know until you know, because it was veiled from me. She deliberately, like Maria, was hiding behind her hair. I mean, in the first one, she wasn't hiding behind her hair. She was busy kissing me. And even crazier of how we were embracing each other so like I've never experienced, squeezing each other. Anyway, the next ritual, Maria was like, "You liked that last week, that you liked that memory, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "You're not going to believe this." And I was so stupid. I thought this is the same person, but at the same time, I didn't know for sure. And she was like, "I brought someone with me." And I'll never, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be sexy or anything. Maria was dressed very nice in a tight black dress with, nice black heel shoes. She was looking different. She usually comes in like workout clothes or dance ballerina clothes. Even back of all the time. Once I knew she was Maria, she started dressing different. When she was just the Missouri River goddess, she had her like goddess costume on, which is just a more fancy dress, with her like different sort of headband things, headband headdress to, keep her hair up. And I thought, "You look so beautiful." And literally, she had set this up and she was like, "Thank you, son, my son, thank you so much." She's like, "But I brought someone," I swear she said this, "I brought someone you think's more beautiful." And I thought, what? And it was crazy. It was like her and Maria had like planned it, but like when she said that, like all of a sudden I just like looked to my right and this girl was walking. I don't even know where we were, really. It was so supernatural. It was dark though. Wherever we were, it was like nighttime in a room with just a light on. It was like she kind of walked through the door from like the darkness into the light. And I'll never forget, she was wearing like black lingerie with this sort of, I almost want to say like, dark but bright green. It was all black with like this sewed in like bright green parts. And it's so funny because when Maria said, "I brought someone you think's more beautiful," when I said to Maria, "Shut up." Like on another level, I said, like, "Shut up. I don't think anyone's more beautiful than you." And when this girl walked all the way up to me, but she was hiding behind her hair. She totally had like her entire hair like in her hands, whole like stretching it right across her face. And I just seen her blue eyes, and I totally, completely didn't know who it was. And it was like I forgot Maria was even there. It was so magical. And I, in beyond thought, I said to her, like, "You are the most beautiful, thing I've ever looked at." Like, I meant in like a sexual way. Like, I meant like you're the most sexual. It was something, beyond words. Actually, it really was. Like, I didn't know how to express like how beautiful I thought this looked, and she walked right up like an inch from it. Like she put her face like an inch from mine and like her mouth like an inch from my ear. And she said, "The most important thing is do not touch me." She was like, "This is magic. All magic. She is like, let's lay side by side, separated by the sword of space and time. And I was like, what? At times I thought it was Maria, but I knew better. I was like, no. I would think, are you Maria? I would think, no, this is not Maria. It's not her vibe. You know, I know Maria. This was like I said, like 2017. I didn't know who it was. And many times, so me and her laid down on the floor, and Maria literally came and kissed both of our foreheads and said, I wish you well. I wish you the best. You know, as it is, so be it. And we were laying flat on the ground in like it looked like, you know, some kind of magic circle. And dressed, she was dressed. She had like on the lingerie and stockings and like what would you call it? Like a shawl, like a silk, you know, silk shawl that she was using. Like she was holding the shawl in her hand with her hair and pulling it over her face and hiding her face. And we laid down by each other, and I swear she said, which comforted me, because the way she said, like, don't touch me, it made me think, like, it kind of, you know, it didn't feel bad. It just felt like, but I want to touch you. So, you know, that's what I want to do. Like, it was instinctual, you know, and I kind of felt like, why come here and didn't say, don't touch me? And then I realized, oh my God, this is like an initiation or something. You know, I don't even, as the observer, I was like, I don't even know what's going on or who this girl is. But literally, as the observer, I just want to say, you know, for the sake of saying it, as the observer, I never really looked at myself. I was dressed in some kind of almost like karate uniform or something. All I could do is look at her, and I mean, I looked at every part of her laying down, like she took her shoes off, and she was laying. I looked at her like feet, her toes in the stockings, her legs, and for real, it was like reverberating in me, like, I know why I said you're more beautiful. I was completely baffled why I could possibly be saying shit like this after, you know, 6 years of doing this. Okay, say 6 years, 50 times a year, 300 times of doing this with Maria. And just all of a sudden in one night, I am just not able to control my thoughts, because me and her, this woman, are totally never opened our mouths. It was all telepathic. And all I could keep saying was like, you're the most beautiful, like you're more beautiful. I couldn't believe my mouth was saying it. My mind was saying it. My thoughts were saying it. And at some point I had to be like, well, I don't know. I actually said to her, I don't know why I'm saying that. And she laughed at me and said, I do. I know why you're saying it. And I remember telling Mindy that I thought I knew who this person was, but it was nothing like the person I thought it was. Nothing. And, you know, how crazy this was for me to be saying it. And I felt like I was saying it in front of Maria. Which, you know, I think any normal person would be, of course you think someone else is more beautiful. I would say that to my wife. Of course you think there's men more beautiful than me. Like, duh. But for me, it was like embarrassing. It was almost like breaking away from your mother or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're not supposed to say that about your mother. That's how I felt. And at times I thought, like, are you watching us, Maria? Like, is this supposed? I straight up was thinking, like, is this supposed to happen? I was telling her, I was telepathically connecting to Maria and saying, like, this is okay. Like, this is, and she said to me, Joseph, I did this. She said, this is what she said. She said, last week, the memory of me and her making out in the locker room. This time, when she walked up with the girl, she said to me, Joe, this is not a memory. I went and got her out of her sleep. And I was like, you did? And I said to Maria, who is she? I don't. And I was looking at her body and her size and thinking, because she is very small, very tiny. And, there was one vril girl that I don't even, I've never had a personal relationship, never really had a personal conversation even with. I don't think. But she kind of looked like her size. And because this girl also has blonde hair, this girl was hiding behind her hair. And it kind of, in my own unawareness, it made sense to me. Maybe this is this woman, this girl, who was an initiated vril girl, who definitely I was told I knew before I came here, because I was given the proof she saved my life. And I could explain that in another video. But she actually did completely. I wouldn't be here talking to you today if one of the vril girls that was initiated into this group didn't save my life, save the trajectory of my life. And what I'm trying to do is juxtapose this with, it's like two different levels, like the physical and the spiritual, or the physical and the vril. Right? With Tammy, it was in the Matrix, and we overcame the fucking technology. It was the same thing, but the opposite way. I never seen this person. And me and this girl were overcoming the technology. What was happening? Let me just be clear. So we laid down by each other. There was no real sword in between us. The sword in between us was her saying, this is what she was saying to me. Joe, I truly love you. Like no one ever loved anyone. But don't touch me. This is a test. This is an initiation. And she said to me, Joe, because I know Joe and Joey. Joe and Mindy. Joey and Mindy. What am I saying? For real, she kept saying to me, because of Joey and Mindy, they're my sisters. She's like, they'll understand. If it's all telepathic, vril. She's like, you don't need to touch me. And I was like, I was laughing. I was like, you're right. I don't want to touch you. I was so blown away. I was saying things to her like, just looking at you was, I could not believe, it was so weird. It was like I had never seen a woman in lingerie or whatever before, ever. I was like a child, like, I wanted to say, like, I've never seen a woman dressed like this. And she just had like heels on, stockings on, like a night, like it was like tight fitting. Like I could see how tiny she was. That's why it kind of reminded me of Maria. All black with this like green almost like neon green going like through it like lightning bolts. On the shawl was like green lightning bolts. It was all very Venusian, super Venusian to me. It like looked like futuristic lingerie. I even watched her take off her shoes, and my mind met her mind, and she said, "I know these are the exact shoes that you want to see my feet in." I swear, she was making me laugh. You know, like I've told Maria. Maria's told me who this person is. It's not really a mystery, but I've told Maria she's almost as funny as you. She says funny shit like you do. She was joking with me the whole way of like, I know why you like this. Believe me. And she kept telling me, I'm here because we knew each other. We know each other. I'm your sister. And it is no bullshit. She told me, this is a test, but I'm not going to tell you what the test is. But I knew. I said, it's a test to see if we can go to the eternal orgasm, which was almost like a joke to me. And what I'm saying is like a orgasm, this like drops you off in a world. It's like the orgasm is like a UFO that drops you off in another world, but it's so crazy because the first time in your life you're like, hey, nobody's observing us because there's nobody else in this world. It's a whole beautiful world, but it's just me and you. That's how I describe it. But anyway, this woman, she was saying to me, I'm going to prove to you that you are my eternal true love. Because I've already told you everything I like as far as my personal favorite places to be touched, kissed. And I'm going, I know that? And she was like, yeah. She was like, you don't know, but I love you. And we've always loved each other before we ever came to this world. And I kept telling her, my wife, Joey, and Mindy, they're so beautiful. I said, I feel embarrassed. And Maria's so beautiful. I said, who are you? I'm not kidding. I was sitting right there. And for real, this is what she herself showed me. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was one of 4 people. It was like everything was white. It was like I perceived we're in some sort of like temple or something. Some special room at least. It was made for this. There was like a stone bed with like, this was all like carved fucking stone with these like 4 seats, and it just started with me with my eyes closed sitting next to this completely naked woman, blonde, and it took me a second, but I realized it's the same woman that's laying next to me right now. And she said to me, this happened in the other world. You were there at my initiation. You were part of my initiation. And I was like, yay, that's great. So happy to be. And it was like, I was in that vision. And it was crazy. As soon as I entered my body, Maria was like, Joe, I've been helping you. This is an exact memory of how we have sex on Venus as like a group. And the naked woman laying in the stone bed with like covers, pillows. She was very comfortable. It was like, it was all done up on the stone. She wasn't laying on bare stone. It was, very beautiful, very colorful, laying on these beautiful blankets and pillows. And she had her eyes closed, and she had like stones all like going down the middle of her, literal crystal stones on her body. And she had all these necklaces on, and bracelets on her feet. And like I realized, like this is all energy. And my mind met Maria, and I said, "Oh, there you are." She was standing behind us. It was 4 of us, 3 women and me. And as soon as I entered my body, I was literally like, "Oh my God!" And I was hit by like a wave of pleasure that makes you, think life is worth living. And I was like, damn, Maria, what the fuck is going on here? Because I didn't really realize at first it was what was going on the astral plane of Venus. We were sitting there, not doing anything, just meditating. She was laying there naked with her stones on her and other shit on her. She was, like naked, not lewdly, but in like a meditation. And like when I like entered my body, I seen like a whole nother world that was going on Venus, on the astral plane. And Maria said to me, I told you, we don't have sexual organs. This is how we have sex. This is how we have an orgasm. And like, immediately what I seen was like one of the girls that was sitting next to me for like minutes. I was the observer seeing me, and I was dressing like, almost like, like some kind of like shamanistic meditation clothes or something, And so were these girls around me. These 3 girls, like one was blonde, one, and the other ones were like brown hair, black hair. So I just remember not even recognizing the girls. Like I kind of looked at them, was like, who's that? Who's that? And then I entered my body, and like the 3 girls, like one of them was like giving her oral sex, and the other ones were like massaging her, licking her breast, kissing her. And like I said, I was like shocked. I was like, when did this happen? What? And Maria was like, Joe, relax. This is how we have sex on Venus. We don't actually... And see, this was juxtaposed with the week before. With me and the girl being like teenagers, like, I don't give a fuck. If you have clothes on, you don't have a dick, you don't, I don't care, I love you. Like, embrace me, kiss me, hold me. I mean, it was that, like, it was the craziest, funnest, lovingest. It like saved my life in a way that it was the purest thing I've ever seen. It was like 2 children hugging each other as tight as they could, pressing their faces together, not even really knowing how to kiss totally. And just being like, I love you, I love you, I love you. That was juxtaposed with this almost like temple, private ritual where this woman was just in absolute ecstasy from 3 other women. Not even me. I was not even touching her. And I went, that's why she's saying, don't touch me. And she said, yeah, she's helping you. Remember, she's more concerned about you remembering. And then, like, this was what was very confusing to me about, and this was kind of what made me know it wasn't the real girl that I don't even really know very closely. Literally don't know closely. But she said to me, I don't want you to touch me because it's deeper than that. It's deeper than it. She was like, if If anyone is your Amor, I am. This is while we were in the temple and she was being pleasured. And me and her mind met and she was like, I don't need you to touch me, just watch. Just watch. And it wasn't, and it was like she was like, it was like I was looking up to her. It was like she was in control. She was leading, is what I'm trying to say. She was leading, and she was saying to me, I don't need you to touch me. What I want is you to enjoy this. I want me and you to be one. I want me and you to meet right now on this very most powerful energy and be one together. I don't need the literal from you. I literally need to know how much you love me. And I was like, there's no doubt about it. There's no one like you. I didn't even know who I was talking to at the time. And I don't want to there's no way to really exaggerate. And I don't know really how to talk about this, but I watched her come to a climax, to a orgasm, and these 4 women become one. I know there's pornography out there like this. I've seen it. I'm not ashamed of that. I watch porn sometimes. I'm not at all ashamed of it. I've been there on another plane with some of the people who are actors. I know it's an act. I know that there's amateur porn where it's maybe not an act, but I know the observer effect. I know that as soon as the camera's turned on, it's not what I am talking about. I'm not putting anyone down. Like I said, I am thankful for it in some respects. I'm not thankful for anyone that's using or abusing young girls or young men. I'm not. I think that's horrible. But I also think there's a profession. I had conversations on another level of people motherfucker, I know I'm using my beauty to make a living and that this is an act. I'm trying to give you something authentic. I'm trying to help you come. I'm trying to, And no matter what, when you turn that camera on, it's not a bad thing, necessarily. It's to want to bring someone else pleasure is mainly a good thing, but because the camera's now turned on, now it becomes like another person. You understand the complexity of now the girl's trying to please the camera and a man or blah blah blah. It gets confusing, but at the same time, I was there to give respect to some of the beautiful women of porn that I would consider, even if once, helped me. You hear me? Not hurt me, helped me. Most definitely. But let me tell you, this was not for money. And this was far, far, far from that. This was purely for the intent and goal of this woman having a orgasm. I mean, the 3 girls knew what they were doing. Like Maria said, who you think trained them? And she said, what the most important thing is these 4 girls becoming one. And all this was happening, and I had totally forgot I was doing mushrooms. And I was laying, and this wasn't comfortable, and it was meant to be this way. I was laying on a hardwood floor, just laying on the floor next to this beautiful woman. And she kept saying to me, it's okay to look at me. I didn't say you couldn't look at me. And I would sit up and look at every inch of her. And the whole process would start again. It was we would orgasm together without touching each other, completely mentally. And I swear to the gods, it was the craziest thing of just orgasming to someone talking to you, just her saying, I love you, I think you're beautiful, I want you. Like, we knew each other before we came here. We did this before we came. She was saying this shit. I would sit up and look at this girl and look at her body and look at her hair. And when she would know I was, she would cover her face with her hair. But I seen her face. And it was funny because I thought, who is this girl? She looks awful, Northern European. I mean, obviously she's blonde, but I mean, it went through my mind of like, who do I know with these genetics? And I only knew, like, personally knew a few people. And literally, it was on such another level. Me and her would like orgasm together. I would start, and it's simply by her saying just anything that pleased her. She literally said to me, I've lived on Earth, I'm here too on Earth, and I know, I know myself, and like, I want you to do this to me. That would like build into an orgasm, and this doesn't happen to me ever, believe it, in a ritual, but this is real sex magic. And she would say, I would say, I want to kiss you, I want to touch you, and she'd say, you can't, but you can look at me. And I would sit up, and I totally forgot that this wasn't real. I was thinking, how am I going to explain this to my wife and stuff? No one would be like, what, you were masturbating while laying next to a stranger? Okay. We always knew you were weird. I mean, that's how it looked, and I was thinking this. And I swear to God, at the same time my mind met hers, and I thought, you're so smart. You said it was because of them. Don't touch me. We don't need to touch. And I swear, I would start looking at her. She had her eyes closed. She had her hair like over her face mostly. And our mind would meet. And she would say, I just want you to look at me. And I'm not kidding. This happened 3 times. We had 3 orgasms. I would start looking. This has never, ever happened to me. I would start looking at her again, and I told Maria, after this, I told Maria, I don't blame if you think I'm fucking crazy. Because I must have told this girl, like, 100 times, you're the most beautiful person. You're the most, like, I would say, you have the most beautiful feet, the most beautiful legs. And I would think about Maria and go, dude, what am I saying? She's the goddess. That's the whole reason I think anything's beautiful is because of her. And it ended. Literally, the last orgasm we had. Literally, we were in like that white space, and this was the last thing. This time she was dressed in all white. And I go, oh my God. I go, this is so crazy. And I'm trying to show you the 3 times that I've been to the eternal orgasm. And I said to her, oh my God, like, you must be the girl from the week before. And what's so funny is the week before, the locker room, because I never knew this girl or met this girl, had any conception of this girl. When it started, it literally started with us kissing. And I would have my eyes closed, and I was feeling her hair. And Mindy, who I know is my magic wife, has really long, straight, black hair. And so I am have my eyes closed, feeling like petting her hair, feeling her hair, like strangely, like I was a kid who already liked her hair. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I opened my eyes and seen the hair was like almost white. And my first thought was, what? Who is this? And I thought, who am I kissing? Because it was in real time in 2017. And it was so funny because I didn't know. Then the next week I have this like 3 orgasm sex magic thing with someone I still don't know. And I go to Maria after me and her the third time we left the whole world. We were in the same place. And but she had a white and silver dress on, and I was literally like worshiping her. I was like, you're so special. It wasn't a cheesy word. I was saying to her, like, no, like, I want you to know, it doesn't matter anything else. Like, there's no one like you. No one could replace you. You know? And literally, she was like, I swear to the gods. She said to me, literally, I got to get back to my body. I wake up very early and get things done or something like that. And I was like, I get it. I go, I know, it's the middle of the night. It was so funny. I was in the greatest bliss. I really was. Like, I was able to say goodbye to her without any, any emotion, because I was still in this greatest bliss of like, it don't matter. I was like, go back to sleep. Because Maria said, I got her out of her sleep. She's really here. Last week was a memory. And this week, and then check this out. When she really came here, she brought me into like a memory, of us back on Venus. And I was back with Maria. What do you think the first thing I said? Who was that? Who was that girl? She was like, I told you. I saved the best for last. I told you the best was yet to come. I was like, yeah. It certainly was the best, greatest thing ever happened to me. And I was like, there's no use asking you who this girl is. And she was like, you would know, not me. She's like, I wasn't invited to the party. And hail to your beautiful name, Mother. I thank you for the memories. I thank you, Maria. I thank you, Brother Lou. I thank you, beautiful Lou. And we wish and project and promote healing to your very selves, even though they're astral, even though they're in the simulation. Yes, may our minds be protected from the technology and be purified from the vibrations. And may we see the illusion for what it is. May Lucifer help us not to be deceived by the illusion.
Underneath the moonlit sky, feel the vibe. Island breezes whisper low, weaving love's tribe. Paradise through the night heart, so free. With every swaying step, she's a melody. The rhythm of love, we all belong. River of Amor flowing through our veins. True self reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwine, carrying through refrains. in the sunshine, we're never lost, just found. Echoes of laughter, we groove to that sound. Colors of the sunset, painting stories deep, with Nana and Maria alive in our sleep. Nana, na, autumnspalt, with shine clad. River of the moor flowing through our veins. Oh Shama, do Shama, Stuto way. Oh Shama, the stage was starting, we find our light. Together we rise, wash away the stains, our souls intertwine, carry through refrains. Santa, Sita, very shot forever bright. Breath of love, we ignite.